So again, what we've been trying to get to this entire time was Citizencon 2952, talking ship. It's something that I didn't pay attention to much at SitCon because this was the moment that it was like, all right, I need to prep for Burke's podcast after. It's just ships. I just wasn't. It was towards the end. I was kind of tired, burned out. So I want to hear more about the Spirit. Personally, I want to hear a little bit more about the ground vehicles. And I definitely want to hear more about the I think the ship that out of all of them I'm most interested in, which is the Drake. Oh, what's the name of it? I'm interested in it. I don't even know the name of it. The Corsair. So pretty hyped for that. So let's see what I may have missed. And of course we can't see it. This is now the TV for some reason.
Hi everyone, my name is John Crew. I'm the vehicle director.
Ah! Come on. I'll just re-intro this for YouTube. Yeah, we're just gonna react to the ship panel now because we've reacted to everything else at this point that is really interesting, I think, and this is the next, I guess, the fourth most interesting panel from everything that I've seen so far. So let's go ahead. What is this quality?
Hi everyone, my name is John Crew. I'm the vehicle director here.
It was at 480p.
Games. This year, I'm once again joined by Ben Curtis, vehicle art director, and Paul Jones, concept art director. And
why does everyone? Why do they all wave like Papegas?
This year's, we'll be talking about something coming soon, something being announced today, something coming a bit later, and then the fan favorite, the Pick a Ship or Vehicle concept series. To kick things off this year, we're going to be talking about our new concept ship, which is the Crusader Spirit. This is a series of ships from Crusader Industries that is designed to take on a variety of other manufacturers' ships at the two-person crew level and does a wide variety of tasks depending on which variant you pick. The two standout competitors to this ship are naturally the Cutlass and obviously the Cutlass Blue, Red, Steel, and the Freelancer series. Those are all,
and this like level of ship is it appears to be the level that gets like the most variance, right? Is the two-person one pilot, one turret ship. And I love how he says two-person with the Freelancer. The Freelancer is probably just going to get a complete like glance over and redo, with it having 4 seats in the pilot spot and one turret gunner. It's just it is so far overboard with the amount of crew it would have. So I imagine that something like the Freelancer is going to get a complete do-over internally. Externally it's fine, obviously, right? Size, all that, but just yeah, that whole cockpit area seems pretty stupid, and just was before they have things sort of figured out. But as far as this size ship, you have the Freelancer, the Cutlass, and now the Spirit. But also something interesting in this scenario too is the Vanguard series, right? Another kind of two-person ship that has a ton of different variants, does a bunch of different things. And I think the reason why I imagine, I said this during SitCon, is that they probably have some metrics, but I think it's just common sense that most people that like play games on the internet have their group of friends, but their group of friends isn't typically org sized. It's typically like 1, 2, 3 friends that they play games with consistently, right? This ship lineup is perfect. this ship size is perfect to multi-crew with that. You also have, the next step up would be the Connie series and obviously the Corsair that we'll be seeing. I don't know what else is under that bubble. I can't think of anything that comes across my head right now, but those also have significant variants. Maybe 400i, 600i, those a little bit. So you get a lot of variants in this size ship and not as much in the others, I've noticed. MSR.
Similar sized ships to this, and they also cover similar sort of roles. Compared to the Cutlass and Freelancer series, the Spirit benefits from not only Crusader Industries' sort of stylish physical appearance, but also their renowned speed and agility.
Speed and agility here.
So we have three variants of the Crusader Spirit. We have the C1, which is the cargo hauler version.
And I would say for the Freelancer and the... I don't know where it's going to fall on the speed and agility side, but the Freelancer and the Cutlass really lack there, I would imagine, and that's what gets them killed in most of their PvP combat.
We have the A1, which is the light.
Yeah, it looks like the Normandy from Mass Effect.
And then we have the E1, which is the executive VIP transport version.
One of the really nice features of the Spirit series as a whole is the front half of the ship is kind of like this shared area, and it's the rear section that swaps out.
So the C1 is the cargo hauler version. This comes with 48 SCU of cargo capacity in the central area, accessible like the other versions via the rear ramp. It's wide enough to allow a variety of ground-based vehicles on board, such as the Cyclone. You won't be fitting larger things in it like the tank. However, with the size of the cargo bay on the C1, you can put
Cyclone
and still have some cargo capacity left over. The A1 is the bomber version of the Spirit, which sort of splits the difference between the Hercules A2's bomber version, which has both size 10 and size 3 bomb options. This comes with size 5 bombs, and they are arranged in two vertical gravity dropped formations down each side of the central area. So you have a nice...
I imagine this is probably one of the cooler ships because bombs, but I feel like this is probably the ship that maybe sold the least because we don't have any missions. Like, this is something that's actually very surprising to me. We don't have any missions that sort of say, go here, bomb this. Don't you find that kind of surprising at this point with the A2 being in game for this long? Sort of, it is actually quite surprising.
Nice little walkway down the middle, and then you have the two sort of lines of bombs.
It would make sense to have like bombing missions
out of the bottom of the ship.
It delivers a different role to what the Starlifter does in terms of the bomber. I think it's a
like
much
kill
kind of
this
smaller,
convoy, you know,
ship. So it's much more agile. You're going to be kind of getting in and out, and doing your bombing run, and then getting back out of the danger zone quite quickly. So it feels quite familiar in that sense, but it does deliver a unique kind of play style compared to
Lars,
the Starlifter.
come on.
So you might be asking yourself which one's better, and it really depends on what you want to wipe off the face of the planet that you're bombing. Obviously, the A2 has both heavy hitters and what could be described as carpet bombing, whereas this is sort of for when you don't want to completely annihilate.
Wait, are there different bombs for the A2? I've bombed literally once, I think. I've never used the ship. There are actually two different types of bombs? Or is it just in lore? The size 3s are not in yet. Okay.
Everything on the ground. And lastly, we have the E1 variant, which solely exists to give Jared heartburn over his Starliner. So this is a sort of taste of what the Starliner will get in the future, but on a much smaller
Understood.
scale.
VIP1 is a really interesting module. It's basically split into two levels.
I never got a good look at this. This cutout is not a good... I don't know what's going on when I look at it.
We really wanted to sort of have that VIP experience. Obviously, you're coming into a sort of multi-role ship. But
It
when
just
you
looks
get
like
into the
business
module,
class, you know?
you've got lockers, space, space to put any sort of personal belongings. If essentially you go into 2 elevators, left or right, and take you up to the top deck. So it has that sort of first class feeling.
I think what really makes the E1 stand out compared to some of our other ships is the kind of the large panoramic glass roof. So when you're in this kind of shared VIP area, you're gonna have great views and be able to kind of like explore the verse in something that I think
Great
is gonna be
views,
quite
explore the
unique.
verse.
And we also
Love
have
it.
the Mixmaster, which is at the front of the module, which is basically where players can go and choose whatever the drink it is. So it's cocktails or coffee. Then players will also have super comfy seats. They'll have the widescreen TV in their module.
I'm really excited to see when we start getting our players and our AIs into these ships and being able to kind of explore the verse and experience that kind of luxury living that I've not yet to experience.
So between the three,
And I don't get it. I'll never get it, I don't think. The E1, I think, will provide missions that I would absolutely be interested in playing, which would be the player transport stuff. I could totally see myself doing that. I think it would be a lot of fun. I hope that the way you fly the ship might matter, not just the type of ship that you have, stuff like that. But who knows? It's something that cargo hauling anything is fun, whether it's people or something for money. I just find it interesting. But the other ones, we'll see. I just see myself maybe dropping my Cutlass for rock mining for a ship like this because I like the Crusader aesthetic. And that's kind of where I'll leave it. I said this on Week in Review. For the E1, given that it's the smaller version of the personal transport ships, although the 600i is kind of going through an internal rework as far as I'm aware, that'll most likely be the first ship to deliver personal transport missions with. But there's a chance that this concept ship moves forward because it's the smaller version of the like the larger personal transport stuff. So there's a chance that they use the aesthetic and figure some things out with it. So as far as concept ships go, I see the potential for this one actually being developed quickly, where others may just sit for years and you never know.
There are a number of shared areas. The sort of core of the ship changes with each variant, but there are some aspects which don't need to change. And starting from the front of the ship,
the cockpit stays the same, I would imagine.
Or the bridge. So like other Crusader ships, you have the side-by-side pilot to co-pilot arrangement. Then you have behind them their living quarters / bunk area and component access. And then you have the variant section, which does change the sort of internal floor plan of the ships between them. Then at the rear of the ship, you naturally have the ramp access area. So that's the Crusader Spirit. We hope you look forward to seeing this and seeing what it can do in the game in the future.
I like the red.
From something at the very start of our vehicle production pipeline to something nearing the end of the pipeline, let's talk about the Drake Corsair next.
Yes. My favorite thing about the Corsair is the elevator.
The Drake Corsair is an important ship in their lineup because it
seems
that
like it's got
multi-crew
so many guns
gap in their lineup. We've seen a lot of Drake ships of various usage and roles, such as the Buccaneer and Cutlass. In this size class, you naturally have the Constellation, the 600i as the competitors, and what Drake brings is its usual rugged, overwhelming amount of firepower for its size, sort of classification to that entry.
It's Drake's dedicated exploration ship. It's a kind of a medium
exploration ship,
space vessel, effectively. It's got a crew for up to 4, or space for up to 4 crew. It's got a
this has space for up to 4 crew. Meanwhile, the Freelancer has 4 crew as well, I believe, right?
Sizable cargo hold, and it's kind of got everything that you need to really spend a decent amount of time away from civilization, away from stations.
For me, it's a mini org ship.
Those deep areas of space.
You and your 5 friends.
Sort of no nonsense, no frills approach to the ship, and you know if something's going to go wrong, it's going to be something that you more than likely can fix, and it's not going to be something that you have to cut back to a main dealer to get serviced and fixed. It's something that hopefully you and your crew will be able to kind of repair and get back up and running, or just fix with some duct tape.
So fans, when they see the ship, will immediately see the sort of heritage, the DNA that's running through the Spirit. So you can kind of almost imagine how the ship is built. It's got that military, easy fix kind of feel. It's loaded with guns, loaded with turrets. It has some really interesting mechanisms inside it. So I think players will really dig that.
All right, let's hear about them.
Quite unique to the Corsair is its wings, the way they fold up. This isn't done purely for style. Being Drake, it's more there for function. It allows you to get in and out of the hangars much easier. We put quite a lot of effort into keeping that really iconic exterior kind of silhouette. And
I feel like I haven't seen the animation on the wings in a while. And they didn't show it in the video, did they?
But still making it functional and making sure it works. At the moment, we're just kind of finishing up on final art. Most of the exterior has had, the majority of its core art time spent on it. We've still got lighting to do. We've still got kind of like final finishing to do, tweak some of the...
Really could go without the salesman talk, no gameplay, just selling mode. These guys are artists. They're selling the look. This is what it's different. These guys aren't gameplay
materials
guys.
Till we're kind of properly happy, but it's in a good place, so I'm really excited to be able to show you.
So let's take a look inside the ship, and once
this
again,
is more the gameplay guy.
Back.
On the inside of the ship, we start right at the front on the cockpit. The Corsair has quite a unique feel to
The Corsair's cockpit is hopefully the new Drake standard.
its cockpit. In the pilot is kind of sat right up front, and then in kind of classic kind of Drake stylings, the co-pilot gets in the seat behind them and actually sinks down into the floor. That transition from the main cockpit area into that kind of co-pilot kind of section,
so he only has access to 2 guns. The pilot has access to 2 guns. I feel like it would be pretty... Yeah, I guess that makes sense, but it's sort of weird.
Right forward, and you're sat pretty much underneath where the pilot is. It gives great visibility for both the pilot and the co-pilot. The other nice thing about this cockpit is, again...
Oh, okay, so the pilot gets these 4, he gets the top turret, and then you have 2 side turrets.
Massive guns that stuck out either side.
Like, don't you think that, like, this player would have this as their external
Side of you, so it should be a nice place to be.
The pilot
in the
has
rear
6
of the cockpit,
guns.
We've got the captain's quarters. So
I would have loved the co-pilot to have control over those nose guns.
captain's quarters is actually pretty much identical to the rest of the quarters in the ship in terms of its kind of size and its amenities.
I think the tractor beam's on the back.
There's I guess a small kind of crossroads directly behind the bridge. From here, you can either progress backwards straight into habitation, or to either side, you've got the turret access. So it's right really at the kind of like the neck of the ship, effectively.
The side turrets have changed a little since the concept phase.
Dude, with the new flight changes, this thing is going to be painful.
Now have a greater range of
It is
motion,
going to cause pain
in
for
sort of
people.
The yaw axis, we're quite limited at concept stage to about 45 degrees.
What size shields does it have?
Each way, you're now looking at 90 degrees pretty much each way, so it's a lot more effective, especially forward firing, which, again, the Corsair has so many guns pointing forwards. Having an extra 2 turrets is very, very Drake.
In habitation, we've got
2 size
we've got
2s.
the remaining 3 crew quarters that, being Drake, they are no frills. You've got a bed, you've got somewhere to store your gear, and that's pretty much it.
It's the trade-off for the guns, I guess.
The main habitation area, though, is, if anything, quite luxurious for a Drake ship, in that there's a decent sized space. You've got your bathroom, which is no frills. It's got a shower, it's got a toilet, whatever. You've got the kind of chow line for all your food and everything you need to survive. And then right in the heart of the habitation area, there's a large kind of sizable seating area, and that's not just for the crew to have their meals. It's for somewhere that you can plan operations, plan your next move, and really decide.
I hope
where
one
you're
day
taking
those
your
televisions are
adventure.
functional.
As we move back from habitation, we start to get into like the rear half of the ship. I think if the habitation area is like the heart of the crew in the ship, then
This is probably one of the better engineering rooms.
Part of the ship itself.
It's
round,
this octagonal, hexagonal space with a few little rooms coming off it to cram components in. And off one of those, you have the side airlock, which again has suit lockers and weapon lockers in there for before you go into EVA or docking or coming back out of.
I mean, it just shows how much better they are at making ships now. You know, just the layout is so good. The functionality is insane. Like the amount that you can do with a ship like this is wild. Like, it's not even the imagination stuff anymore. It's like, I got my gun racks here. I got my suit things here. I guess the suit stuff is imagination time for right now. But this is where, when we go down to bunkers, we'll leave from. This is where we, you know, it. And then you look at the Connie, its competitor, and it's just night and day.
Before you enter the rest of the ship.
And then you've also got the lift, and the lift not only goes down to ground level, but it also takes you up to the roof of the ship. So if you do want to go on a quick spacewalk, or you need to go and repair something,
this is my favorite
exterior,
part.
Then you've got kind of easy access straight up the lift and out you go.
Straight up expanse, right? Like, just
then
so
finally
good.
At the rear, you have the main cargo hold, which has space for an Ursa rover or similar sized vehicles and down, along with a significant cargo
How many rocks do you think that fits? Maybe 3?
capacity.
And being a Drake ship, there's a huge ramp on the back of it. All the mechanics are exposed. You can really see the workings of how the ship actually operates.
Maybe 4.
Found a Drake. It certainly ticks all those boxes.
So I think the Corsair is a particularly cool ship.
But probably
I love
too.
the styling of it, love the asymmetric wing arrangement of it. I think it's just going to be a great, fun addition to the game, giving those sort of players who enjoy that Drake experience.
You found out 4 months ago the
their
Connie is the top
slice of
airlock.
pie.
Yep.
And you'll be able to experience that yourselves at IAE this year. And a vehicle coming later today, a vehicle that's at the end of the pipeline, we have the Greycat STV.
Not
Racing
something
is a
that excited
cool and fun
me very
aspect
much.
of Star Citizen, and it's something that we've seen that backers really enjoy doing and organising amongst themselves. And something
But
that we
maybe
really
when
want
we
to
get proper
help
racetracks
support,
and time trials.
from within CIG. So we wanted to bring a new vehicle to the verse, which is where the STV came from.
So the STV is the Greycat sports terrain vehicle. It builds on what they learned from the PTV, but it brings it out of the hangars, off of the tarmac, and onto much more rugged terrain.
It's a four-wheeler, two-person open-topped sports
This year's
styling,
LTI token?
everything you need
Yeah.
to razz around on the planets. So the STV is actually part of a wider family of vehicles. You may recognize a resemblance in the name to the Greycat PTV, which is also part of that family. And we also have a third vehicle lined up that we want to do in the future called the UTV, which is the utility terrain vehicle. And we've actually reconcepted the PTV, and we have the concept for the UTV. And when you see all three side by side, you'll see that family resemblance.
The interior again is
They look
similar.
good.
Design language, simple layout, easy to clean. That was a big thing for us, even though we don't have like a cleaning mechanic. All this sort of builds into the sort of visuals of the vehicle. So, the floors have got drill holes in them, so it can easily let water through. The seats are easily removable, so you can actually see the bolts where you can just quickly whip them out. And so all of this thinking goes into those
It's
kind
the
of vehicles.
stupidest
The
amount of
wheels are a big
detail.
feature, large sort of rubber mud guards.
The gameplay detail,
Just there's lots of subtleties.
not even close.
In terms of the roll cage, the sort of cross section of all these things. Maybe people wouldn't notice, but for us, these are all part of making a manufacturer consistent.
So the STV delivers that gameplay that is you and a buddy out exploring over our planets. We've got these vast ships that you can explore deep space and go off.
Saying the word
with big
explore.
multi-crews. But what this really allows you to do
Always
is get
a weird
down
thing for me.
One of our many planets and go exploring on the ground. It's not just a vehicle for you and a friend. It's also got kind of some cargo space in the back. So if you are out there doing missions, rather than having to fly your ships directly to where the mission is, it allows you to land slightly out there, slightly in a safer area. You still
I
got
like
space
that.
to load up with weapons, load up with your whatever mission items you need, and get in and
Put
out. nice
two
and quick.
Compared to the Cyclone RC,
two actual, the boxes that you buy and put those there and fill those up with things like food and drink and ammo or whatever.
Which is a sort of racing variant of a non-racing vehicle. The STV was built from the ground up to be a good racing vehicle. It has a good chassis, it has better handling, it has better top speed, and that's what makes it
they're the same size they should go in.
The best things about Star Citizen as a whole is it kind of brings a lot of gameplay, and it's not all about combat. It's not all about flying these massive ships.
But they don't.
And I think one of the things that a lot of us are excited internally about is racing
Classic.
in our game. A lot of us come from a racing background in terms of the games we've developed before. A lot of us are petrol heads at heart. So I think being able to build on that kind of gameplay in Star Citizen is super exciting for us.
It is the
if you
Daymar rally vehicle.
You'll get your first chance at seeing the STV in action in a race organised by Atmo Esports, creators of the Daymar rally, where you'll see it taking on the terrain for the first time. You'll be able to pick one of these vehicles up today at the end of the broadcast. And
all right.
Finally,
then this
the
one
most
is
important
all
aspect
from
of
me.
These inaugural shows, the pick a ship concept challenge thing. For those of you that have seen previous years, you will have seen that we've thrown up some silhouettes of potential ship and vehicle options and asked for your feedback on which one we should actually make. And the wise among you have probably realised that we end up making pretty much all of them anyway. So instead of just doing that again and pretending that we're not going to do that, we thought we'd do something slightly different this year and just have a single ship option. And the choice is actually the manufacturer and the styling of that ship. So we want to do a nice large civilian mining ship that bridges the gap between the Argo Mole and the RSI Orion, because
so when I first watched this, I was blown away that they said mining ship, and I didn't hear that it was bridging the gap between the Mole and the Orion. I thought it was bridging the gap between the Prospector and the Mole. So I thought it was going to be some smaller, like mid-range thing. If you're bridging the gap between the Mole and the Orion, doesn't it sort of need to have a refinery on it? That wasn't
those two ships. There is quite a gulf of space.
Anything I heard.
We wanted to fill that gap with an intermediary stepping stone before you jump into the big RSI Orion.
That's actually a really good point. I would see gas refining is something that ships with a fuel scoop could do, but I would love for that to be its own unique mechanic. I think that would be really cool.
The scale of its mining is nothing like any other mining ship in the game. The Mole is the current mining system, just lots of it. So with this larger ship, we want to increase that and also provide onboard space for our ground mining vehicles such as the Rock and the Rock DS, which are...
So that's their big selling point for this. And this is where I guess I should bring it up right now with you guys since it's relevant. Let's go ahead and do that. I did this on Weekend Review, but I'll do it again here in case you guys didn't see it. Let's go to the com link. And we're going to look for monthly report September. Here it is. And we're going to bring that up, and we're going to scroll down to what would be gameplay features. No. Mission features, no. Vehicle features. It's in there. It's gameplay, I believe. It wasn't a ship-based thing. Let me try and find where it was. You saw it? Yeah, let's control F, actually. That makes a lot of sense. Mole. There you go. Features gameplay. Okay. I was looking for it at the bottom. Both features receive a general pass while the team is looking to improve multi-crew mining. For example, by adding benefits to using the Argo Mole over several MISC prospectors. There's really only a couple ways you could do this, in my opinion. And it's... unless they make some really massive changes, I think it's making changes to the lasers. and making size 2 lasers have a different characteristic, more effective in some ways, less effective in others, maybe more power. But it's going to have to be how you distribute rocks and how big those rocks are. That's going to be the big difference, because the cargo space in the mole is really what matters at this point, is the fact that you can carry more. And then having everybody in one spot is really helpful as well for, you know, using different types of lasers and all that stuff. But you could do that with multiple prospectors. So the idea of being able to essentially spread out more in the current way that you find rocks is just, it's always going to be better unless we change the way we do everything completely, right? So that's kind of the big thing for me. So I'm really curious what they're going to do here, but it kind of tells me where the direction they want to go is, okay, if you find a prospector mineable or a mole mineable rock, you know, both the same thing, that maybe there would be a small field of ROC mineable rocks there, and so on. So that's kind of where I want to see things go, but I don't know. I'm sort of on the fence with it, but I do like the idea that that's where their intention is that they want to go with a situation that is essentially this a full mining platform. Now, the only thing that's missing from that full mining platform would be a refinery, but they have their refinery ships. Maybe that's where I don't know. That's the line that they don't want to cross there.
It allows you the flexibility of taking on any mining situation that you can come across.
Any mining situation.
We have 3 choices, which are basically the manufacturers. We have RSI as the first choice,
which is winning.
So obviously, RSI do the Orion, so this would be a smaller vehicle in that family. We have Argo, again, we have the Mole, so naturally it could be a larger step up from that. And then we have MISC, the third option. Obviously, MISC do the Prospector, so again, keeping it all within the same family.
I think people just are not.
Images, they each have their
do not like the MISC aesthetic.
Styling take on that pitch that I've just given you. At the end of this Ship Talk panel, Jared will come on and explain how you get to vote on these 3 options. And that's the end of Talking Ship, so over to you, Jared.
Personally, though, I'm okay with RSI. I would have preferred Argo. It's just my style. But RSI is it'll be the first RSI mining ship. And I guess the aesthetic of RSI has gotten a little bit better over the years. So yeah, we'll see. But personally, I think I mean, that monthly report post is really exciting for me. I want to see what they do with mining in the future. And then I'm really excited to see what I can't believe they're adding another ship. I would have never expected guys, out of all of the things you would have seen at Citizencon, another mining ship would have been the last thing I would have chosen. I'm happy about it. I wonder what other people felt. You know, we didn't have the big, huge carrier ships. I'm very happy they're not doing that anymore. They have to get through the lineup that people have spent hundreds of dollars on at this point before they can continue offering options like that. I think the C1, E1, and A1 are great choices as well. And yeah, that's kind of where I stand on this whole thing. So that was Talking Ship.